Hello everyone, welcome to this section, and this is part 2 of the video series, and we are going to discuss about VPC, subnet, routing table, internet gateway. These are the backbone of AWS. So now we in the last section, in the previous section, we understood about what is the problem, right? We discussed about all this. If you are going to expose our internet service, I mean EC2 instances, database to the public, what would be the consequences? We discuss all these things in detail. If somebody is directly landing to this particular video, I would request you plus go ahead and watch the part 1 of this series. This is very important. I will share the link in the description. Please watch the part 1, because if you don't understand the problem statement, this video is not going to make much more sense to you. All right, with this, let's start the designing the solution. And I generally don't go ahead and jump directly into the services and all. First, we need to understand the foundation. And in AWS, foundation of everything is VPC. This is my statement. This is my understanding, because in our case, the foundation is VPC. There may be some application where the foundation is not VPC, but mostly we need a VPC for if you want to build anything in AWS. So what is VPC? So the first question that comes in your mind is, what is VPC? All right, so VPC basically stands for virtual private cloud. Okay, when I'm saying virtual private cloud, it's a private cloud that is virtually created. So if I have to define, VPC, think of VPC is like your private network inside AWS. Okay, your private network inside AWS. This is what the meaning, definition of VPC. So you may ask, okay, fine, what do you mean by my private network inside AWS? Generally, when you create AWS account, by default you create an AWS account with a root access, right? I mean, you create with root user ID, the first user ID that you get a root, and that is your nothing but your email ID. This is your email. Okay, so this is at the user level. And also when you create an AWS account, in each region you get a VPC that is named as default VPC. Default VPC, you can just imagine it as a playground. If you don't know about AWS, you want to launch something, you want to test something, default VPC is best use case for that kind of scenarios. But are we going to deploy our application in default VPC? The answer is no. Why? Because you don't have the full control over the default VPC. So control of what would be the CIDR range of what would be the IP address range, how many subnet you want to create, how many public subnet you want to create, how many private subnet you want to create. There is such kind of a control you don't have over the default VPC. So generally what we do, we leave the default VPC. The best practice also says delete the default VPC. For the security concern, we go ahead and delete the default VPC, because production grade application we don't deploy in default VPC. So but what is VPC? I'll give you an analogy. Let's say this is your apartment. This is your apartment. Okay, and this apartment you can consider this apartment as AWS. Okay, this is AWS region or any of the region. In the apartment, this is your apartment building. You have your own flat, your neighbor's flat, your friend's flat, something like this. Okay, so who will come inside the apartment, who will go outside the apartment? There is a security guard sits, that is controlled by AWS, something like this, you can say. But in your flat, you restrict the traffic, right? You you make sure that who will come inside your flat or something. So there is a control inside it. So this is something like your VPC inside AWS. As an analogy, that is not 100% apple to apple match, but just to explain you, that is why I given a definition. Think of VPC as your own private network inside AWS. The flat is inside the apartment. Apartment is something like AWS region. You are creating a flat that is something like VPC where you control it. Okay, again I am telling you, this is just an analogy. Okay, so this is basically you can say this is your traditional data center. VPC is something act like a traditional data center where you have lot of good level of control. What is that control? Control is basically like you will have your own IP range, your own control over the traffic and all those things we will see practically. Okay, that's just right now I'm telling you at high level theoretically. Okay, so AWS VPC gives you the capability so that you can isolate the network where you can launch the resources securely and more following the best practices as per AWS documentation. Okay, so it's an isolated network. Why it is isolated network? Until unless you are not creating the communication, it is isolated. Okay, until unless you are not creating the routes, it is isolated. Okay, so this is about the VPC at very high level. Let me put inside this block. So this is about VPC. All right, that is good. And what is the next step? Next step is like inside a VPC we are going to create a small network. I mean small segments, that is called. Let's say first create, this is my VPC. Let's say this VPC is, I'll say my VPC, or I'll say my _lab _VPC. This is the name of my VPC. Okay, inside this VPC we are going to divide into smaller segments that we call subnets. Okay, so what we divide the network inside the VPC into small segments. That segment we call subnet. Now as an analogy, what I can tell you here, inside this is your flat. Inside your flat there are some section that we call kitchen, there is a section that we call master bedroom, there is a kids room, there is something guest room, something like that, right? So these small section has been, you're further broken down your flat into small segments, and one segment has a very specific purpose, right? This is kitchen where you can prepare food, this is guest room, guests will come and sit here, like this. Similarly in network also, when we create VPC, we break the VPC into segments that we call subnet. The purpose of the subnet will clear in a minute, but you need to understand the first concept. We break the VPC into small network segment. Always doesn't, small means small, but like subset of network inside a VPC. Okay, so what we'll do next what we'll do, same diagram, we will create some subnets here. So there will be subnet like as in our diagram that we discussed, like private public subnet, one public subnet, one private subnet, and there is one more private subnet. Okay, the question comes, okay, that is fine, we understood the concept what is subnet, but why do we need subnet? What is the purpose of the subnet? What is subnet is clear, fine, you explained it very nicely, that is good, but why do we need subnet? Because we don't want everything running in one place. We don't want our application server, our database server, our load balancer, everything should run at one place. This is not a good design. We need some level of separation. In order to establish this separation, we need to break this network. Okay, we want separation. So what is the real use case? Because we want separation. Separation of what? Separation of application server from database server. Separation of load balancer from application server. This kind of separation is needed. Okay, so and separation we create because some of our resource will talk to internet, some of our resource won't talk to internet. So the resource that are not going to talk to the internet, how can I separate them from the resource that is going to talk to the internet? We need some kind of a logical separation. That is what subnets give us. Okay, that is the most important concept. Based upon this, what we do, we define something known as, I'll say my lab _ public subnet. This is my public subnet. So whatever the resource who need internet access, I will put it here. Whatever the resource who don't need, let me put inside it. Yep. And this will become my private subnet. Okay, the resource that don't need access to internet, we will create under private subnet. We are also creating one more private subnet, right? Then you say, okay, why, if it is just an internet access, then why there are two private subnet? Yes, because this is application server and this is database server. I want to separate them also. Though both of them are not talking to internet, but I want to separate them also. So for that we need one more private subnet. Okay, so this is my lab VPC, and then further we will go and break this VPC into 3 subnet, 2 private, 1 public subnet. All right, so so before we define, before we move ahead into the public subnet and private subnet, I know some of you not understanding this concept in that much detail. So I will give you like what is the meaning of public and the private subnet. What do you mean by that? Why we call this as a public subnet, some subnet as a public subnet? What actually meaning of public subnet? Why subnet some of the subnet we call private subnet? What is the actual meaning of private subnet? So let's take a simple example. Okay, this is just a side note. Okay, side explanation. So this explanation, let me explain it here. Let's say you are opening, let's say you are at your home and you want to access facebook.com or netflix.com or some application. This is you, and this Facebook or Netflix is basically sitting over the internet, right? Whatever it is, they are sitting over the internet. Let's say this is FB server, Facebook server. You are going to access this device over the internet. Okay, so any device that you want to access, okay, any device from where you want to access the internet, there are 2 conditions. Okay, internet access, there are 2 conditions. Any device from where we want to access the internet, the device must meet 2 conditions. First is your device must have a public IP address. The device, the laptop, the mobile phone, your smart TV must have a public IP address. Second, there must be route towards internet, route to reach to the internet. Okay, there must be a route defined. Route means there must be passage, there must be way. Like from the traffic here it should go, this route must be defined, and also the traffic that is coming back from the server, the route must be defined. If there is no route, you won't able to talk to. Even you have a public IP address, even though you won't able to talk to internet. So these 2 conditions simultaneously needed for any device to talk to internet. Okay, then let's when I saying like public IP address, I think everybody knows like what is public IP address and what is private IP address, right? So public IP address, like we have class A, class B, class C ranges of the public IP address. If you don't know, don't worry, I will share a link. You can in the description go and watch those documentation, read those documentation. It's in my GitHub also. I have explained it there, like what is public IP address, what is private IP address. If you don't have any idea, but public IP address, which is required to connect to the internet. Okay, so it means that if your system has a public IP address, you can communicate over the internet. So in your home, what happens if this is your home? You are sitting in front of here inside your home and want to watch to go facebook.com. Your internet service provider has put some device in front of, right, at your home, that they called Airtel router, Geo router, AT&T router, but this is not actually a router, but you can say it's a border device where you can connect to internet. The actual router sits at the ISP data center. There is something, ISP data center where they have the router, but this connectivity they will establish when they come and give you internet access. This connectivity they will establish. This connectivity is already there. Okay, so your traffic goes to this device, from this device to ISP router, from router it go to Facebook, from Facebook the traffic return, and you saw the Facebook page or Netflix movies or whatever you want. So that this is what. But the 2 things is you must have a public IP address and you must have a route towards internet. This routing is created by the ISP. Then what about the public IP address? If you go to your Windows laptop or Mac laptop, if you go to the CMD and type command ipconfig, okay, the command is ipconfig. ipconfig. Okay, if you are at Linux, you can say ipaddr show. The same command will work over a Mac as well, ipaddr show, because they have the Linux terminal. 100% of the time you will get a private IP address. Okay, private IP address. Even though you have the private IP address, you are able to access to the internet because the condition says you must have a public IP address. But your device, even your smart TV, your mobile phone, when you connect to Wi-Fi password, you basically connect to this device, right? When you go to your friend's home and say, hey, I'm not able to access internet, can you share your Wi-Fi password? The moment that guy share Wi-Fi password, this route gets connected. So what happens, your device will have a private IP address, but the ISP has a public IP address. You can also bought a public IP address, but that is little costly. So what we use the ISP, the Internet Service Provider public IP address to access it. That concept we call NATing. And we will talk much more about NATing in our networking section, but just to here give you a concept, your private IP address converted into public IP address, okay, to access internet. So your device will get a public IP address of this. Okay, this device will use his private public IP address to access to the internet. Okay, this concept you must remember. Any device that want to connect to internet have an IP address and route towards the IP address. That's it. If you remember these two concepts, a lot of things will become clear. Okay, let's go back to our page. So here we discuss about, okay, this is what is public IP address, what is private IP address, how to reach to the internet. All those things are clear. Okay. With this, what we will do, we will move towards we discuss about here the concept of subnetting, right? So let me just mention it here. All right, so we discuss about the subnet. The part 3, like, when we discuss about the subnet and all, the third part that what we are going to do is, in your VPC, we will make one subnet as a public subnet, 2 subnet as a private subnet. Okay, and with this we will create routing table as well. So what we are going to do next is basically, if before creating the routing table, we need to create one more device here that we call internet gateway, IGW or internet gateway. What is this internet gateway? Internet gateway or IGW is basically kind of a similar kind of a device. Similar, I'm not using same, okay? Similar device that is a border device that helps you to connect to internet. If you don't have the internet gateway, you won't able to connect to internet in AWS, okay? So that first what we do, you need to create an internet gateway. First, step number one, create an IGW. After creation, what you need to do? Step number two, attach this IGW to your VPC. That is step number 2. So the same diagram, same thing. What will happen in this diagram? Let me copy all those things. I mean, just imagine these are the things that, let me copy like this and drag it here. Yeah, everything got created, right? Okay, so this will be the diagram. The stage 3, we will create an IGW. First we will create this IGW. Let's say we'll name this IGW as my lab IGW. Then we'll attach to the VPC. We'll attach this to VPC. Somewhere we'll attach it. Let me remove this arrow. Okay, so step 1, create it. Then step 2, attach it. I will show everything practically as well. Just right now I'm telling you, I'm setting up the context so that you should not get like a lot of things I'll start creating. It is not going to make much more sense. What happens to this? It's like very not clear, right? One second. Color, I can do something else. Okay, anyway, I think it is clear. Let's not waste time here. Okay, so this is basically I would say, let me Control B, let it make it darker. I think it will be clear now. Sorry about that, I didn't realize. Let me make it, oops. Okay, anyway, so this is right now the status, create IGW and all. After this, okay, what we are going to do is, like, once IGWs get created, we are going to create the route tables. Route tables, why the route tables? In AWS, the concept, what is route table, like, private subnet is just, we have private subnet, we have a public subnet, right? Private subnet resources do not have the public IP address, and there is no direct route towards the internet, okay? Which means that these resources are isolated from the internet. Similarly, for the public subnet, the resources will have internet access. How the resources will have internet access? We can give the public IP address, but what about the route? What about the route, like, how the traffic will go to internet? So in this, what is going to happen? Same diagram, okay? We have internet here, right? We have internet here. I want to establish a connection, okay? So any traffic will go to internet in AWS via IGW. Just remember this line. Any traffic, if you want to connect to internet from AWS, the traffic will definitely go via IGW. So what we need here, we probably need, let me make it little bigger so that the diagram will be little clear. Okay, so from the public subnet, what we will do, we will create this routing table. We will create a route, okay? We will create a route towards IGW. So what will happen? Any traffic that is, let's say, an EC2 instance is running here, okay? An EC2 instance is running here. This guy want to connect to internet, but how the traffic will go? From here it will go to IGW. From IGW it will go to internet. And how the return traffic will come? It will come to IGW, and from IGW it will come to EC2. This is how, or EC2 or load balancer, whatever, any device that is running here want to connect to internet, the device directly not going to connect to internet, it will go via IGW. Remember your home, it will go via Airtel device, it will go via AT&T device or Geo device, whatever the device that is there, put it there, the border device. So this is the same function here. You need to connect to IGW. Okay, for this, connectivity is not by default established. When you create VPC or something, this internal connectivity, like subnet to subnet communication, all those things are already established. You don't need to worry about it. But this connectivity is not already established. That we are going to establish. For that, what is the steps? For that, we will create a route table. Okay, we will first create, let me mention as a step number one, step number one, create route table. Okay, inside the route table, add a route, a default route like 0.0.0.0/0 to IGW. You have to add it to IGW because this is not by default there. So you have to create this route. And when this route table is ready, attach this route table to the public subnet. This is what you need to. Once you are done with this, your step number 3 is done. I mean, the third part or fourth part of the lab will be done. Then public subnet will have access towards the internet. Okay, public subnet will have access towards the internet. That we need to understand. This is okay. I think last time it was not working. Anyway, okay, so this is what we are going to do. Okay, so now you understand the concept, like, we will go and create the VPC, we will define the IP range, we will create a new public subnet, we will create 2 private subnet, okay, and the outer box, like this my outer box is basically, I'm going to label as a VPC. The CIDR that I'm going to use is 10.0.0.16, the VPC one. Okay, the inner box that we are going to create 2 private and 1 public. So we will create the CIDR range as well of 10.0.1.0, 10.0.2.0, 10.0.3.0, something like that we'll create, /24. All those things we are going to create in the next section in over AWS console. So next section, most of the things I will show you over AWS console. I'll keep my console ready. I will go there. I will start creating with VPC. I'll start creating the subnet. I will show you how to create IGW, attach the IGW to the VPC, create a route table, attach to the public subnet, public route table, private route table, all those things we will do. All right. With this, I'll stop here and we will connect in the next section, next video, where whatever we have discussed so far, an hands-on lab. Thank you very much. Have a great day.